All right, it's Super Centex After Dark, first one of the 2024 season. You see the crew here. And actually, I want to start with Michael Haig. DJ was really excited about the University Trojans and maybe their prospects this year. And Chad and I think, agree. Just how good did they look on week one?
Really, really good, especially offensively. I think, they're kind of late in the first half, kind of going into that third quarter. I felt like it was, if it wasn't already a shootout, it was going to continue to be one. And, um, you have to give credit to K'Ron Johnson's defense at the end of the day because they really stepped up in the second half, holding them to just 6 points and, really doing a better job of limiting the run game. That uh, it was tough. It was tough for University to kind of stop the run there, especially in the first half against Keller Central. But again, they kind of did a pretty good job. I mean, K'Ron mentioned that they're young, particularly in the secondary, and it's kind of tough for them to kind of make some of those reads sometimes, especially when another team kind of throws the read option in there. But yeah, they're loaded offensively. University is. I mean, they there were times where maybe Savoy Nichols struggled early, like and I mean like the first drive, like I think he was 0 for 3 on the first drive, and then he just immediately kind of kicked it into gear. But when you have a guy like Cade Bynum, who was literally the quarterback last year, I mean they played him at some quarterback. Obviously, he's running wide receiver. He took some jet sweeps. They did the same thing to London Smith. I mean, it's got to be a headache for a defensive coordinator or just kind of prepping for University. There's so many weapons, and you add Mark transfer JD Bell. I mean, they were just they kind of imposed their will and wore that Keller Central defense down. I mean, seriously,
Sorry,
there
sorry.
was just
I
nothing
gotta
you could do.
interrupt because
Okay, okay,
DJ DJ's taking us on an adventure
yep,
Yeah,
yep.
through
so
dichotomy.
dichotomy's
You
about to
look like you look
close.
like Alice in Wonderland.
Oh, you're a dichotomy. I couldn't figure out where
Yeah.
the heck, and also it
It's
was
a
a
great
little bit
place
of
to
a
be on a
Blair
Friday
Witch
night.
Project thing going on. It's like
Well, DJ's got the
Jesus.
right idea for a Friday night. But yeah, I mean, seriously, like just to kind of wrap up, I mean, University's loaded. I think we all knew that. I think that Keller Central team is probably improved despite being winless last year. Like that was a pretty good. They were clean offensively in terms of running that read option, and they kind of again University kind of struggled, but yeah, second half they really stepped up, and again I would hate to have to be a defensive coordinator preparing for a matchup against University this year. They've
JD
got so
Bell.
much.
How many yards did JD Bell
Yeah,
have?
what did JD Bell do?
He was kind of so. I want to say he had like 4 2-point conversions. Like just plunges forward. Like he's kind of operating as their power guy. He didn't. I want to say he only ripped off like one or two runs of like 20 or more. But he was kind of just your bull forward and fall forward kind of slow and roll kind of guy. I would say, yeah.
Okay.
So, but yeah, really, really solid performance.
They should as Chad mentioned, they should get to 2-0, I would think, next week playing Granbury. And then we got a nice week three matchup with University and China Spring. That should be a lot of fun. Uh Chad, I mean, I'm not shocked that Whitney beat Mart, but the score, good Lord.
Yeah, it wasn't what we're used to seeing from Mart, and I guess this is after dark. I guess I'll just kind of tell it like it is. I went over and talked to David Haynes after the game, and he was, thrilled and saying all the things in the post game huddle about we're not rebuilding, we're reloading, and this is a big deal to come into this stadium and win a game like this. Not a lot of people thought we could do it, and then I kind of followed up, with a couple of those ideas with him when I actually interviewed him, and I just kind of intended to go get in my car and drive home. But as I was walking out of the stadium, I had to walk right past the Mart kind of coaches or a little huddle that included Kevin Hoffman. And I was like, I can't just be like, have a good night,
Right.
just go on. And you know, I mean, Kevin is one of those guys that will tell you how he's feeling, and he I said, "Can I talk to you for a second?" He said, "Nope. I told you we weren't very good, and you wouldn't listen to me." And you know, it's kind of like you got that old Lou Holtz thing where a coach tells you his team's not very good, and you go, "Yeah, okay, all right, all right. I still got to do my job, and I hear what you're saying, but you know, and I think he was bummed, and I hate losing too, so I can understand somebody's bummed and that they lost. But he said that he sees it in practice and he knows what it's supposed to look like, and he knew they weren't there. And yeah, I mean, seeing was believing, unfortunately. You know, because Whitney during the first quarter, even when he was 0-0, Whitney was kind of pushing, kind of, you know, like they were the aggressors, and Mart was kind of, I'm barely hanging on here, you know. It's like
Yeah.
that old night at the Roxbury when the Chris Kattan and Will Ferrell, and Chris Kattan's like, "You got to hold it together, man." And Will Ferrell says, "You got to hold it together. I'm barely hanging on here."
I got you.
You didn't think you're gonna get a night at the Roxbury reference on After Dark,
Yeah,
did
that's a pretty crappy movie. DJ, you know, we thought that was gonna be the game of the night. I mean, how good was that game? Obviously, Franklin is Franklin.
Okay, well, first of all, didn't have a chair for the first half.
What?
So even if I even I mean, but that didn't matter because there was no way that I was gonna be able to sit down. Like things were happening so fast. Matthew Battles fumbled in the first play of the game, and then Franklin went and scored. But then, China Spring kind of looked like they were getting back into it, right? Like, um, and Tyler Beatty's team always has a lot of fight. They're never really gonna give up on you, but neither is Franklin, right? So I think really it's they're definitely going to have to do some things to clean stuff up in order to get back to, I guess, the caliber that they're used to. Um, it was just a messy, particularly in the first half, it was pretty messy, but things didn't really seem to get any better for the Cougars in the second half. And I mean, Tyler Beatty told me earlier in the week, like the team that takes care of the football is going to win this game. And I mean, Franklin, they only really had one major fumble that kind of led to points for China Spring. And after that, they were pretty hard to stop. Like by the fourth quarter, they were just eating up clock. So Cougars didn't really have a chance to make it back. And I wouldn't say that it wasn't an interesting game because it was, but yeah, by the fourth quarter, you kind of like started to feel the intensity dwell away, and
That's August football for you.
yeah.
Yeah.
I do say, I mean, Jaden Jackson is so good for the Lions, and he went down early in the second quarter, kind of just tripped up on himself and seemed to have hurt his shoulder, but like he was back before, the end of the half, and then he came back in the second half. Didn't really have as many carries in the third quarter, but by the fourth quarter, he was a guy that was like, if they found themselves, in a tough spot, they were gonna give it to him. But like we have been talking about like, oh, like China Springs kind of just reloading, and Franklin is like just got some guys, but no, like Franklin, they've got some freshmen that are gonna surprise some people. Like, there was this one kid, Sawyer Janus or Janus, I don't know how to say his last name, but he broke out for like a 52-yard touchdown run, and I don't know, like they're obviously really good. China Spring is gonna get better. But I don't think they're going to beat University if they play the way they did tonight. That's for sure.
Yeah, Lorena got it handed to him tonight. Brian Coates was at that game. Uh, China Spring got it handed to him. Not handed to him, but obviously beat.
But yeah,
Uh,
they kind of beat themselves in that regard. A lot of flags. Some of them didn't make sense. There was one on Sportsman like that. I was like, "Yep, nope, that's the reason that they're doing the little like seminar thing at all the schools." Um, and then I mean, Matthew Battles is not Cash McCollum, and he's not Major Bowden. He's a really athletic, like kid who's gonna grind it out for you. Like he had these really, athletic, gritty runs and when they were in tough spots. And I think he's still trying to find his way around the passing game a little bit. They had a really major like passing touchdown when he found Christian Trevino pretty deep on 4th and 7. So, I feel like the keys are there. They just really got to continue to build and refine them.
Yeah, it's probably not the last we've heard of China Spring or Lorena or Mart. I think we'll hear from these teams again. They'll get better, but those are some good opponents. They all three of those teams played. So, let's give it up to
Meanwhile, I'm about to start singing Midway High Forever,
I'll get to Midway. I want to get to Zach, who's been waiting patiently. Triple overtime game.
What?
Yeah, for 56 minutes, that was the most boring game I've ever been to. Just Robinson is good at what they do. I mean, they ground and pound and chew the clock, and they can do it well. And their defense was playing really well and holding West to, I think they had 2 first downs between the first and in the first 56 minutes, I think West had 2 total first downs. And so it was so boring. And then all of a sudden, West just starts to play free. They're playing loose. They're just they have nothing to lose. So they're just kind of dinking and dunking their way down the field, and it's tied. They couldn't move the ball. And then all of a sudden, I think there was Robinson let off the gas a little bit, and West just came right back. And so they scored 2 touchdowns with under a minute to play in the fourth quarter, sent it to overtime. And then overtime was a story in and of itself. I mean, the first overtime period, West recovers a fumble and then has their game-winning field goal blocked. The second one, West doesn't convert. They don't score on their first. And then Robinson looks like they win the game with the kind of, McCurdy rolls to his left and, hits Austin Marshall in the corner of the end zone, but it's called back for holding, and so we go to a third overtime. And so they go to the 3-yard line, and it's just a 2-point conversion kind of thing. And, I don't know. I tweeted out the video. I was standing on the back of the end zone, and I don't know if he got in on the Robinson touchdown. It's close, but he might not have gone in. So and then they stuff West on the their second their 2-point conversion. It was just crazy. All of a sudden it was like I said, the most boring game for 56 minutes of just running the ball. I thought I was going to be out of there super early, but yeah.
I got to fact check the Baylor beat writer here. So we got 12-minute quarters, so it's 48-minute game.
Hey, he's pulling double duty.
Man, it's been a long week, Chad.
Yeah.
It's been a long week.
Get him, Zach. Get him.
You know what I meant.
It sounds
2 minutes, and
Zach.
I was sitting there going, was it boring for 8 minutes of overtime?
Zach, it sounds like the UCF Baylor game.
Yeah. That's.
It's just boring, and then all of a sudden, adventure.
Luckily I wasn't writing. I was standing on the sideline for the entire game, so I wasn't writing anything. So I didn't have anything like you where I had to delete everything and rewrite it. But yeah.
Actually, I never did delete that. I still have that somewhere.
Anyway, I Robinson's defense is legit, and I think that's gonna travel and just get better as the season goes on. I think West's offensive line is also legit ish. I think that they definitely have some size, and they definitely have some dudes that can, I think will develop into a really good offensive line. It's just a matter of, can West, I guess, get more consistent offensively. They didn't, at times it didn't really seem like they knew what they were doing. So I don't know. I think it's hard to like get a gauge as to how good these two teams are after a game like that, because I think they're both good, but yeah, it was just, what a game. Like, welcome back high school football.
Now we're walking around downtown Waco. Like, give us a shot of the Alico there, DJ.
Okay, hold on. Let me see if I can.
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Waco, baby.
Hey, you know what we need? You know what we need to do? We need to have this. If we can pull it off one night, we need to have this podcast at Lucky Bucks, at the new Hotel Herringbone, because from there like rooftop bar, you can see McLean Stadium, Foster Pavilion, the Alico, and the Silos, all from the rooftop. Wouldn't that be cool to do the podcast from up there?
Yeah, might be a little tough depending on where all our games are, but
downtown.
All right, so Chad referenced it earlier, the proud Midway alum that he is. Yeah, I mean, you guys saw August football. I saw a team that looked like it was in friggin' mid-season form. Dude, Midway is legit. Okay. Now
I picked Midway, and here's why, though. And I don't mean to interrupt you, but I picked Midway because Round Rock Westwood was not setting the world on fire last year, and they did not have much to game plan on Midway-wise.
Well, so they were a playoff team, Westwood was. They did graduate some guys from that, including a guy that apparently is at Army now, running back. I was not overly impressed with Westwood. I'll say that. Now, I did think that their offensive line was big and strong, and Midway just won the line of scrimmage the whole night long. There was some jitters at the very, very start. It did look like August football, the very first couple possessions, and Midway had a blocked punt. No, yeah, blocked. Well, I say blocked punt. High snap. The punter drops it. He makes a great catch at first, and then he kind of bobbles it and drops it, and Westwood recovers. And it's like, uh-oh, here we go. And Midway's defense bows up. Westwood misses a field goal. And from then on, I mean, it was a scoreless first quarter, but Midway got it going. Cash pulling, once he got in the groove at quarterback, he was firing on all cylinders, and Tyler Scythe is going to be essentially their Jackson Baird this year. Kid is he had one touchdown where Pullen kind of threw it behind him, and he just caught it in stride behind him and just kept going the other direction. He had touchdowns of 44 and 60 yards. Great night for Tyler Scythe, and great night for Cash Pullen in his debut as quarterback. He had 4 touchdown passes, 1 touchdown run, and Midway's defense. I mean, it looked like a college defensive coordinator had coached up their defense because they're nasty, man.
Hey, that's a great rapper name, by the way, Cash Pullen.
Cash Pullen, baby. I said he had more money than Fort Knox in my story, so.
He's just a cherry bomb on a silver platter, isn't he?
Absolutely. Yeah, and then of course I did my announcing at halftime.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if y'all saw my tweet, but I was gonna make Millie the goaltender of the week anyway, and then she got it, and so I wasn't able to do that. But here's the Chad, you're gonna laugh at this because I found out today that the goaltender parent that's doing the announcing also has to do the band announcing.
You're gonna be the band
it's a whole nother like 10 minutes I could have been writing, and this I'm just gonna say it, this stupid band script that I had to read, it was called Chrysalis, and it was about butterflies emerging from the cocoon, and
You're gonna have to hand off that. You're gonna have to choose. You're gonna have to be a sports
I
writer
am
and
gonna
do
hand
that.
that off. I'm finding a
Uh,
band parent to do the band announcing, and I'm just gonna
well,
do the goal.
because here's the thing: the band announcer is the person we ignore while we get work done at halftime.
That's right.
You can't be the person you ignore so you can get work done at
I
halftime.
gotta get some work done. I
By
mean,
the
I
way,
always watched the goaltenders anyway, but I can do that and then pass it off
mhm,
to another parent. So
mhm.
now
Hey,
back to Midway. They're looking strong, and I would say, I mean, they were already my pick to win District 12 6A. But they might make some noise in the
interesting, interesting.
playoffs.
Uh, so I can't wait to text my nephew Eli tomorrow. He's a sophomore at Granbury High School, and congratulate him on that resounding victory they had tonight.
Oh, for Waco High, 3-0. Holy smokes! Are you
Thank you
off
for not
that? Are
sending
you
me
off
that.
that
Thank you.
Waco High bandwagon, Zach?
Uh, I like them as humans. I'll say that. The football, I like them as humans.
Yep,
Mm.
yep. I'm gonna give a couple quick more shout outs. Valor Prep, who DJ wrote about, got their first win in their first game tonight. They beat Mount Calm. And Wortham with a nice
Oh,
win over Valley Mills. We all liked Valley Mills last year. That's a good win for the Bulldogs. And Troy and T, a couple of our schools that are kind of outside the county, they got good wins tonight too. Troy big over Salado, Teague big over New Waverly. So yeah, good start for a lot of our teams, and maybe other teams still you know have to pick it up. But
did I pick Wortham? Who did we pick in the Wortham Valley Mill? That was a tough one to pick.
I think I picked Valley Mills.
I think I picked Wortham. I don't remember. Speaking of bands, the kid that was announcing the China Spring Band, um, when they were doing some like 90s rock star, show or whatever, and he called Alanis Morissette. And I was like, I'm only 26 years old and you're making me feel old, kid.
Oh, that reminds me of a story. I'll tell
Did
this.
you tell him
I'll tell this.
you ought to know?
No,
So
somebody came up to the window and corrected him.
so once I was in a fantasy football league with some local media, and uh, Zach Burke, who actually later became a Trib stringer for a while. He's Glenn Beatty's son-in-law, by the way. Um, Zach was working at ESPN 1660 at the time, and it got around to his pick, and he picked, I kid you not, P. Ray Thomas, uh, Pierre. Pierre.
Oh, he
And
said
I've
P
never
Ray.
called Pierre Thomas or Pierre anybody anything but P. Ray ever since then. That was one of my all-time favorites. P. Ray. All right, y'all get out of here. I'll see you tomorrow, Zach, at Baylor football.
Let's go.
Peace out, guys.